And now I start recording. So, the whole point of this is to make sure that you understand what's in the syllabus. The whole point of this is I don't want to talk at you for, well, now I can't talk at you for 50 minutes. Thanks to Peter. But I do want to have an opportunity for you to ask me any questions you have about the syllabus. This is really important. This is how we're going to proceed the contract for the semester. So I want to make sure everybody understands. That's why we do the quiz. It's also for attendance, but I'm going to make a few brief remarks about what I think are the highlights. I'm definitely not reading the syllabus to you. You already read it. But highlights. I would love to see people tweeting. I'll give you the answer to the first question. What was the first question? Do I emphasize the use of social media, something in class? Right? So, what's the answer? Yes. True. Whatever the answer was. Yeah. So, Twitter. Let me check the Twitter feed and see if anybody's been tweeting. What's the hashtag that you use to tweet about class? Ross Genetics, hashtag Ross Genetics, and then also hashtag F15 for fall 15. Because if you just search Twitter, for those of you that don't know anything about Twitter, if you just search for the hashtag Ross Genetics, you'll get last term's comments, the term before that's comments. So if you want to get you and what you're saying currently, adding that F15 will help. Let's see. Nope, I was the last person to post, and that was an hour ago. So no one's been tweeting me any questions, which is fine. Does anybody have any questions about which version of the textbook to purchase? There are two options. You have to purchase one. Any questions about that? Yeah?
Wednesday after class, I went to the bookstore to go buy the loose leaf version.
Loose leaf?
But they were all out of it.
They were out.
And they said, we have to, give you the slip so you can order more. Because there's, no more.
Right. Okay, so if you're trying to get the loose leaf version, the bookstore under-orders those because they expect that all you technically advanced students are going to all want the all-digital versions. And so if there is demand, who else would like to buy a loose leaf that has not yet been able to buy one? The loose leaf being, it's the print version of the textbook plus the online access code. Anybody. So 1, 2, I just need a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Any other questions at this point about the syllabus? There's a lot of talking, which is good. I foster talking, so that must mean there's some questions. What are your questions?
I have more of a comment.
Comment. Even better. You're going to love this.
You can purchase the access code through the online without going through the bookstore, and it's about $20 cheaper.
That's right. Did everybody in the back hear that?
You can purchase the access code for the Connect through their online website instead of the bookstore, and it's about $20 cheaper. If you want to see it.
Something I didn't know. So we're all learning. Okay. Another important point, this is the one, I said I wasn't going to do a lot of announcements in class, but this was really important. Every transaction you do with the class is electronic, email, homework, etc. have to use your mail.fresnostate.edu account. No personal Google accounts, no other email accounts. All the official in-class interactions have to be with your Fresno State assigned login. Otherwise, you might not get the points for what you're trying to do. Where are you going to go when you need help with your tablet? You're not going to call McGraw-Hill Tech Support. Discovery Hub, which is located first floor of the library. Excellent. Okay, now we get to the really important stuff. How am I going to assess your learning? 4 tests, 1 final exam. What's the good news?
1 gets dropped.
Low test automatically gets dropped by me. So by test, I'm trying to make a distinction this year. By test, I mean during the term. It's never in the middle of the term, so I hate calling them midterms. I might slip and call them a midterm at some point. So there are 4 tests. Those are smaller things during the term. And then there's the final exam. Final exam is mandatory, but one of the 4, the lowest of those tests gets dropped. What's the other good news about grading? 80% gets you an A. 60% plus gets you a B, 40% plus a C. It's not the way you probably expect. It's not 90 and up, 80 and up, 70 and up. What do you think is the flip side to that?
It's not hard.
It's going to be harder. So the exams, right, as we talked about the first class, the exams are not going to be 50% of the points are multiple choice. It's going to be different types of exams. The expectation is higher, so I adjust the grading accordingly because I don't curve. If you get 80% or up, you get an A. If you get 60%, you get a B, etc. No curving, no adjustments, no free points. That's how it works. I'll skip the other stuff I thought was important because maybe it's not so important. Any other questions about the syllabus? Course schedule, how assignments work, how grading works.
You kind of just put like inside of your, what is it, like basically each day, you just put like a line to almost every day, meaning attendance is pretty much mandatory, right?
Yep.
But the question is, like, you say you do in-class assignments and quizzes and all those, and it's just anything by yes, we don't know what's going to be done that day, we just know that.
Something, right, so yes. Now we're talking about the course schedule, which is probably the thing that you might have the most questions on. And under that column, in-class quiz, in-class exercise, between class activity and or pre-lecture video, there's a yes for every class period.
So
what the hell does that mean?
Labor Day or Memorial Day off.
Well, right, so if we don't have class, then there isn't an in-class assignment. Every other day, other than exam days, we will do something in class that's maybe worth a point. I'm trying to emphasize attendance. If you don't attend, you might not get those points. But they're very small numbers of points. So last class, what did we do in class? Or what were the homework assignments? We had the selfie, and we had the PDF annotation. Each of those were worth a point. You do it, you got the point. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about for in-class activity. It's more participation than success in getting the right answer, because there isn't always a right answer. The last 2 points I want to make about the course schedule, you'll notice that before every test, what does it say, the class before? Test review session. So we'll do in-class review sessions the day before each exam. The format of that is, I stand here for 50 minutes and you ask me questions, and I respond. I don't come up with some preconceived study guide. You are the study guide. My lecture notes, the PDFs that you all have available to you, are the study guide for the exam. And so you come with questions, I try to help you work through those questions. The other thing to note is the day before the review sessions in the in-class activity, other than the whys, where yes, there will be something to do that day, you'll notice exam review questions due. So the class period before we have our first review session, what I'd like each of you to do as we're going through content, which starts very shortly, to think of one question that you think I would ask on the exam related to that content, and send me that question and your answer, how you would answer that question. I compile all of those into a study guide, and then I post the study guide and I post the answer key. So you can use that to sort of self-evaluate how well you think you do on sort of a mock exam in preparation for the real test. So you help me create the questions, that way I'm not giving away the questions I'm going to ask on the exam. You create the questions, that helps you study, it helps you critically evaluate what you think is important and might be tested on, and then you all benefit from that resource. Blah, blah, blah.
Dr. Ross?
Yeah.
So when we send in our questions, are you going to pick out the ones that are most related to the test that you're making?
No, I will not pick, I will leave in questions that are most relevant.
Okay.
I will take out questions that are irrelevant and I reserve the right to change grammar and spelling. So no, if it is a question that's on the exam, in fact, I'm glad you asked. Your incentive to participate in this. It's totally voluntary. There's no points attached to this. It's herd mentality. If you want to get the help of others by benefiting from their questions, you participate as well. The only carrot I have is that one of the questions that gets submitted, I will put on the exam. So in the study guide that you generate, I will pick one of your questions that will be on the exam. So if you ace the study guide, if you know all the answers to all the questions on the study guide, you'll know the answer to one of the questions on the exam. Okay. Not done yet, not even starting to wrap up. One more question.
Yeah, so it says under the groups in the test.
We may do some group testing. The format and sorry, finish your question before I yak.
Oh,
I apologize.
No. I just wanted to know like how, what you exactly meant by that you're going to be setting groups for each test?
So right, so that's what I was about to say. I thought that's where you were going. I apologize for having cut you off. The mechanism is, I have not decided yet. Okay. So the mechanics of doing group work, I'm not sure about yet. I'll definitely let you know before you show up on test one day and I say, okay, this is how it's going to work. You'll know before that. It will be weird and different and unfamiliar probably to do group exams if we do them. I'll try to make that an easy transition. Okay. So next class, we're going to finally start doing some genetics, now that we've got all the mechanisms and mechanics out of the way. This is going to look, to those of you that have taken chemistry already, hopefully not horrifying. What molecule is that? It's a benzene ring with... What's red? Red is oxygen. So that's phenol. There should be a hydrogen on there too. Okay, so the point is that we start the term with the structure. This is why you have to take chemistry before you take this class, or at least while you're taking this class. We start with the structure of the molecules that we're talking about. DNA, RNA. This is the first real authentic data set that we're going to look at. And this continues. This is just the teaser for next time. We're almost wrapping up. So what are we looking at? What's in the left column? Any brave soul? Start with the easy questions.
Percentage of adenine in those types of organisms.
Okay, so percentage of adenine found in, so column 1, organisms. So we've got, what's E. coli? Bacterium. Diplococcus pneumoniae. Sounds like something that causes pneumonia, which is another bacterium. Mycobacterium. Do we get to anything that people are more, let's see. What's Saccharomyces cerevisiae? Yeast. Brewer's yeast. Paracentrotus lividus. It's a sea urchin. Rattus norvegicus. It's a rat. Okay. So we've got a bunch of different organisms representing a bunch of different kingdoms. 2 kingdoms. No plants here, I apologize. And we've got the percent of their genomes that are made up of the 4 different nucleotides. This is what we're going to be talking about next in this next chapter, the upcoming chapter. So we've got the percent A, percent T, percent G, percent C. How many A's, T's, G's, and C's are in their DNA? What's going to be true about each of these rows? Should add up to 100. There are 4 nucleotides that make up our DNA, A's, T's, G's, and C's. So the percent, is that true? I hope it's true because I did this math. So what's the percent of A plus T plus G plus C? Are all of these 100? I'm just going to write it down like they are. Somebody double check me while we're finishing up. Okay. Any other patterns? Any other trends? What are we supposed to take out of this information? Were you raising your hand? No. Okay. When you do that sort of thing. I'm likely to call in if you look like you're trying to answer. Okay, so are they all about equal? Are the number of A's about equal to the number of T's equal to the number of, so it's not 25, 25, 25, 25. Okay, so now if you go to Socrative, this is our sort of wrap-up exercise. Go to Socrative, either b.socrative.com or the Socrative student app. I want to collect a little bit of information from you. Okay. So this is going to ask you to make a prediction.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Since where you say we're getting to real genetics by next class, is there going to be...
Well, this is real genetics now, but yes.
Oh.
We're heading there. Go ahead.
For the, do we need like your reading assignment that will be for next class?
Right. So the next, so after you do the Socrative, the next slide, which I think is the last slide, is the list of what to do for Monday. And if anybody has any technical issues with getting to Socrative or on Socrative, please raise your hand and we'll come around. Any issues? Okay, so a lot of you are getting in. Some of you are half done. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide at this point. Do raise your hand if you have any troubles at some point. Okay, so this is what to do before the next class. Please finish that. Keep working on it. So we've got the homework that's due Sunday at midnight, and I can tell you why 11:59 p.m. if you're really interested. There is a Learn Smart, the first reading assignment, due immediately before we start talking about that chapter in class. That's the way every reading assignment is going to be. It's due right before we start learning that material. So that's chapter 9, sections 1 through 7. So on Monday we start chapter 9 in class. The other thing to do is, and remember all of you have these slides in PDF on Blackboard, so you don't have to write this down or take a picture of that code right now. Also, second assignment for Monday, just two. Reading and this pre-test. It's a 9 multiple choice question test. It's only worth points for participation. It's not graded for accuracy. So those are the two things for Monday. So at this point, we're done. Someone's going to come in, like Dr. Schreiber probably will come in any minute. So feel free to keep working on the Socrative exercise, please. Submit it when you're done. And then we'll come together Monday and start talking about Chapter 9, the structure of nucleic acids. And do please come up if you've got any questions about anything.
Good to go?